Welcome back, everybody. Another episode of Pollinate here at Studio B at Wilson's Orchard on a rather unusually nice November, whatever it is, 20th something. Awfully nice weather for this time of year, and we are delighted and grateful to have Barry Greenberg with us, chef, and a big part of the university's dining program over there. And I'll let you say more about that. But yeah, we are super happy to have you here, Barry. And why don't you tell everybody who you are and what you do and why you do it?
Sure. Let's see. I am the executive chef for University Dining. We run the food service operations on campus, just about all the operations, with the exception of a few things. We don't provide food to the hospital, and we don't work with the athletics department except for some catering events. So all the student dining, all the retail dining on campus, all of the catering on campus we do. And it's a big department, as you can imagine. Lots of chefs, lots of food service professionals, lots of student employees, lots of managers, everybody working together to provide the best experience for our students that dine with us on campus.
And how long have you been doing that at the University of
Paul,
Iowa?
I've been on campus since 92.
92?
So, yeah, November 2nd, 92 was my first day, and just celebrated the start of my 29th year.
Wowza.
Yeah.
Nice.
I started when I was 10 years old.
Yeah, because you're only 27 now, right?
Yeah.
So in that time, talk a little bit, because it seems to me that while I never went to a big university, it seems like the food's a whole lot better than it used to be. Am I wrong?
I think you're right. I went to a pretty well-known culinary school on the East Coast. I was born and raised in Connecticut, went to school in Rhode Island. And even at the culinary school that I went to, the food we serve in what is pretty standard around our industry it's amazing, the food that the students get to dine on. I like to explain it. It looks like a Las Vegas buffet at some of our marketplaces. It's multiple, what we call platforms, different stations of different types of food being served. Our three large dining outlets are all you care to eat, so students can walk through and choose whatever they like. When it isn't COVID, we're offering a whole lot more. But standard stuff as well as some pretty out there stuff for students in our demographic of 18 to 21 years old, which is our sweet spot. Everything from pizza and burgers and chicken tenders and mac and cheese, as you would expect, but things like Brazilian steaks and a whole station around foods from Brazil and different featured cuisines from around the world. We do a lot of barbecue, different regional barbecues. So it's great. Our chefs get to do a lot of different things.
So I know in general, I know that the Iowa City School District still does a lot of their own cooking and stuff, but it seems like on the sort of elementary level and high school level, a lot of that stuff is pretty much like off the truck and warmed up and served to students. But how does it work at the university? Like, how much do you have to prepare yourselves, and how much is pretty much ready to go?
That's a good question. Everything that is served in the marketplaces are pretty much prepared in-house. We use some products that are known as speed scratch. So we might mix something together and bake it off, as opposed to assembling all the ingredients, mixing it together and baking it off. But a lot of this stuff, we're pretty fortunate. Our food service director and our department supports myself and our chefs. We're pretty culinary focused. We want to be able to serve things as authentic as we possibly can when it's appropriate. So there's a lot of scratch stuff going on. Our bakery does just a tremendous amount of scratch cookies, which is unusual for our volume. We scale stuff out, we mix it, we scoop it, we bake it, and we send it out. Our bakery also makes scratch pizza crust. We do some breakfast breads, some breakfast pastries, and those are sent all around campus from sort of like a hub and spoke situation, like a commissary-style kitchen where we produce things centrally, and we have trucks and drivers that deliver the products throughout campus.
Okay, so it's not that necessarily every cafeteria does everything, but
right.
Yeah.
They don't do everything, but the hot food and savory stuff at the 3 marketplaces are done on site.
On site.
Yeah.
So what's the spokes beyond that, or where does stuff go beyond that?
We have last count, I think it was 13 different retail locations around campus, 3 different convenience stores, and then maybe some of the more popular ones are in the main library. There's a cafe there. There's one in the Papa John Business School. There's one at the dental school. So maybe some of the folks that are listening in are familiar with those. Those are the big ones. And then some in different academic locations around campus as well, of varying sizes. One at the Wellness Center, more of like a juice bar kind of a setup. So it varies from traditional to, just like a wheatgrass smoothie.
All right. So, and so there's a lot of students that are working at these places, I take it. Is that part of their education per se, or is it just a work study job, or do they actually, there's no culinary program at the University of Iowa, right?
That's correct. There is not. The culinary and hospitality programs are offered at our friends down the road at Iowa State. Mm-hmm.
They're not friends.
Some of them are.
Okay.
They're not all bad. Someone has to go to school there.
Well, I guess that's right. Otherwise, we'd be overwhelmed.
This is the part that you're cutting out, right? Yeah, so there is no formal culinary program on campus, but a lot of our students are into cooking, interested in it. A lot of our students are looking for a job that works well with their academic lifestyle. We're very flexible on hours. We are open at all sorts of hours during the day. If a student were to walk into any one of our locations, we would be very happy to provide them with whatever hours they would like to work. So yeah, we're pretty flexible. Students make up, I don't know the exact percentage, but the majority of our service staff that work in the marketplaces. The majority of our kitchen staff are students, and they're all supervised by either full-time or professional chefs.
And speaking of, so, I know sort of that's the day job, Barry Greenberg, right? But
yeah.
On the other side of the curtain is Barry Greenberg, that I know has been pretty successful in cooking competitions around the states. And tell us a little bit about that, Barry.
Okay. I've started cooking competitively, I don't know, I guess a few years after I came to the University of Iowa, maybe 10 years or so. And it started off with just entering some recipe contests, and I was successful. And then that kind of led to some other live cooking event competitions that I have participated in and been successful in as well. So yeah, I've been pretty lucky. I've been happy with the results. It's always nice when someone wants to pay you to do something that you enjoy. I use the opportunity to just be creative. It's just another opportunity for me to maybe use a manufacturer's product that is sponsoring, say, a competition. Mm-hmm. Maybe use their product in a variety of different ways. And fortunately, within my work, I can test recipes, I can play with the product, I can serve it to people, see what the results are, and either enter it or not enter it, depending on how things go. But yeah, it's been fun. Most recently, a couple of years ago, I won a competition with a company called Miners, which is a brand of soup bases. They make different flavorings for soups, and so I won this competition, and the prize was a trip for two to Paris.
God damn.
Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. Lisa and I went, and just a trip of a lifetime. The trip was to Lyon, but we built some extra time into it, and we went to see this. It's sort of like the culinary Olympics called the Bocuse d'Or, which is like this giant. It's a spectacle. In Europe, people just really get into cooking competitions, and there's 25, I think, or 26 two-person teams that train for 2 years to get ready for this competition. And we got to watch this competition for a couple of days, and people are going crazy. Like, they got the cowbells going, and people have these all rooting sections with flags, and they're really into it. So it was fun to see.
Wowza. Never heard of that. Well,
Yeah. I'll have to send you a link to some of the videos. It's pretty incredible.
That would be welcome. Yes. Yeah. Huh. So these are from all over Europe. People come, or is it just a France?
No, all over the world. There was a team from the United States that qualified to be there, and all over, all four corners of the globe are there.
Damn.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So, one of the things that, outside of the fact that you and your wife have been great customers, your daughter's worked here, but we've been kind of tied together in a lot of ways because the University of Iowa, I think, is exceptional in that they really do a fair bit of procurement from local farmers. And when I first heard that you guys would do that, I have to say I was pretty surprised, just because I know local food is probably going to cost more, probably take more prep time and stuff like that. And in an industry that seems often focused very much on, the bottom line and efficiency, this would seem to run counter to those trends. But how do you guys make that work? I mean, what's in it for you guys in terms of local?
Quite honestly, it's quality product is the major driving point for us. Yeah, we want to be able to tell the story that we're buying apples from this crazy guy up the road. That's great. It's a great story. We love it. But it's a better product to go along with that story. The apples weren't sitting in a cooler for years, last year's harvest. It's fresh. They were just picked, and we're serving it right to you today. And that kind of goes along with every decision about local product that we make. Sometimes we pay a little bit more for it. Sometimes we have to add some prep to it. Sometimes it's more difficult to hold on to the product. But majority of the time, because it's fresher, it's going to last longer, it's going to taste better, it's going to look better, and we get to tell that story, which is important to us. Like I told you earlier, we're pretty culinary focused, and my cooking philosophy is, get the best ingredients that you can, and then get out of the way. Let them do the talking, like whether it's an apple or it's fresh greens from another vendor that we work with, or it's maple syrup from Northeast Iowa. Get the best you can and use it when it's applicable, and you can afford to put it into a situation where it's going to work, and then just enjoy it and try to do as little as possible.
So what sort of issues have you run into in terms of, because I think this is one of the things that a lot of local farmers can't get past is sort of the same way that it surprised me that you guys would be interested. A lot of people just kind of don't even think about the university as a potential place, a potential buyer for their products, because they think, the barriers are too high, either on volume or on price or whatever. What sort of, from your perspective, what's the sort of things that have limited the amount of local stuff? Is it supply or price or?
Well, I think one of the biggest barriers is and the fact that we live in, Northeast Iowa, Central Iowa, where our students aren't here to enjoy that summer bounty of product when the volume is really high. Our inventory of students is very low. So, trying to match that up is a big thing. Some vendors are reluctant to come and work with us because they don't think that they can match a product with our needs, and it feels like we're constantly reaching out. So any vendor, any farmer, any producer of a product, if they're aggressive and they want us to see the product, we're going to use the product, especially if it's a good product. It has to fit. It has to be within reason, price wise. The supply is difficult. We do a pretty good job of letting our suppliers know what our forecast will be. We have students on campus 16 weeks at a time, once in the fall and once in the spring semester. We've been doing this a while, and we have support systems, whether it's a computer or it's just by gut knowing this is going to be really popular. We can project out how many servings of maybe it's Jake's tofu from Old Capitol, how much of that we will use, and we can work together with the vendor to make sure that product is ready and available to us when it's time, when we need it. So the good vendors realize that, and maybe it's just one item, one SKU that they're trying to get into our operation, and they run with that, and that's where it starts. So, we're pretty easy to get along with if it's a good product and it's something that we know that our students will like. We want to work with you.
Yeah, I mean, that's been my experience. Really, it's been refreshing just how easy and seamless it's been. It's not, you don't have to fill out. I mean, getting paid is another question. I mean, there's a bureaucracy around that, but the ordering system and all of that stuff, it's seamless. I mean, it's just so easy. It's casual. It doesn't strike it's very user friendly.
Yeah, and that piece about payment is getting better and better. As long as there's like a list of 10 commandments that you need to follow, and if you follow them, you're going to get paid. I think it's every 16 or 18 days, as long as invoices are in and everything meets the requirements that we need to check off. There's going to be a check waiting for the vendor. Yeah,
and to be fair, I mean, it was more us learning to work within you guys' system.
Yeah.
But really that was the exception. And it's not like we didn't get paid. We always got paid. It's just sometimes it took seemingly forever. But once we learned the ropes and all about POs and how you had to do this for that guy, and it all works now. So tell me about students. So is there demand from students, like students saying, hey, we really want local stuff, or are the millennials that we keep hearing about just like indifferent to the, what's served? I mean, I assume everybody loves the fact that they can get pizza and Brazilian food, that there's a diversity of offerings and stuff. But what's the demand like for, fresh or local or both? I guess.
That number kind of fluctuates with each class. It seems like there have been classes where they're very vocal. Maybe there's a lot of folks that have dietary issues, and they're very concerned about the food that they're eating. This fall semester, we're not hearing as much because there are other things on our plate, so to speak, with just keeping everybody safe and healthy, making sure that we're providing a safe environment for our students to come get food and leave. But to answer your question, it varies. It seems like there are years where it's a hot topic where students are concerned about different dietary things and local products, and then there are times when we don't hear a peep for a while. So this year we just had we have an advisory committee, and none of that kind of stuff was voiced because they're just a little bit preoccupied. Yeah, going home for Thanksgiving and all those other things. But yeah, there's a lot of other things going on right now.
So what have you guys had to do to sort of keep people safe in this crazy COVID times?
Yeah, as of right now, we are not allowing students to dine inside the dining rooms. So that's been kind of, that's a hard one for students.
So they pick it up and take it back to their dorms?
Yeah, there's a few places in the buildings where they can eat in small groups. They're not really supposed to, but we see them either in a lobby catching a meal together. But we're using a software app so students can order our food on their phone and pick it up at a window. Or we have an express line that goes through the marketplaces, normally where students could go travel back and forth throughout the marketplace. Now it's just one sort of snaking line through the marketplace, grab whatever you want, and then it funnels you through the exit on the way out. So those are the two methods that we're using right now.
So I would assume the number of students is lower right now and the volume of food is lower. Is it?
Yeah, it is. Our menu offerings are a little bit lower. Volume of different foods are lower. Just the de-densification on campus. Before we came back for a fall semester, that number was lower, so everything is lower. But it's harder to serve, because we are serving everything to the student and the guest, as opposed to self-service. So It just takes more people, more time, and a lot of disposable to-go boxes.
Yeah,
which is
that's one of the downsides of.
It is a hassle, and it's not very sustainable.
No. And so, and the university in providing these meals, and is there pushback, or I just know from we work a fair bit with Hy-Vee, and I know for Hy-Vee the whole idea of local is how do I want to say that? It's as much part of their marketing program as it is, a service to their customers. But is there push from above, either yay or either for or against sort of promoting local food? And if so, do you guys actually promote what you do with local stuff to the students?
Sure we do. Yeah. We're all over social media with special events that are going on, scaled back a little bit because of COVID. But yeah, we promote special events. We promote local ingredients. We promote all of that kind of stuff. To get back to your previous question, we don't get a lot of participation from our senior administrators at the university. That's probably a good thing because they trust us to be running the food service operation. They do love it when we use local. I get to provide some meals over at the president's house when there are events on campus, and try to use local products as much as possible there, because it's a great talking point for catering events, for events at the president's house, and events like that. So that's really our niche, to feature local products, is through catering, because it can show up on a menu so easily. We can talk to the organizer. Maybe they have a little bit more flexibility with their budget and the way to reflect the fact that we're using a great product.
Mm-hmm. So, we talked a little bit earlier about how things have changed in the last 20 odd years that you've been working at this. And now there's a great diversity that your students and clients have access to of different foods and stuff. Where do you think that's all going? Where do you think 5-10 years from now, is it going to look a lot the same, or how is it changing, and how would you expect it to change?
Yeah, it's a tough question right now, given the state of the way we're needing to provide service. If COVID weren't in play, I would see us still progressing toward more sustainable, more local, and more customizable. Our students all were raised going to restaurants, as opposed to when I went to college, going to a restaurant was an occasion. Our students are much more food savvy than, 1 or 2 generations removed. So they know what good food looks like. They know what good food is supposed to taste like. And I think that's only going to increase. I think their expectations will continue to grow. And it's exciting to think that we're going to be able to provide that because we're food focused as well.
Yeah, so I mean, that's interesting. So basically, students themselves, I mean, as Americans, I guess we're eating something over 50% of our meals out. Mm-hmm. And so you would expect this generation to be pretty used to eating out. And like you said, that puts them in contact with different types of food, and they come to appreciate it. At the same time, it seems like just walking around, there's also a much greater diversity of students. We have a lot more Chinese, we have a lot more people from India, South Asia, Southeast Asia. There's a lot more diversity in the student body, right? So I would assume that, do you find that creates a different demand for you guys?
Sure, it does. And when we try to feature items from different cultures, we want to be as authentic as we can. And that's not easy because we don't want to come across as patronizing, I guess. If you're trying to do something and it falls short, I know myself and our chefs probably wouldn't be proud of an effort like that. So we do our best to do our research and we reach out to students. They are very much a small percentage of the whole, but they're very vocal. So we try to do the best we can when there are concerns to make sure it's as authentic as possible.
I mean, I see, especially with the Chinese population here, it just seems like since that population has grown in the student body, it has the kind of interesting fallout of that is we now have Chinese restaurants that actually taste like Chinese food. It's not American Chinese, but there's real Sichuan food you can buy now in the city of Iowa City. That's a really interesting, I think, side effect of that diversification.
It is amazing to see the amount of diversity in the new restaurants, like even in the past 5 years in Iowa City. You're right.
Yeah. Well, anything else you want to talk about with you or your job? And
no, I just want to tell you how great this place is. I've watched since you've taken over, and I'd known Chug for a long time, and raised our kids on the hayride out here, as I'm sure every other Iowa City kid is part of their growing up, and just so enamored with everything you've put into this place to keep it not only alive but thriving and beautiful. So thanks for keeping it going.
No, I mean, to be honest, this property holds a special place in a lot of people's hearts.
Yeah.
Partly it's a beautiful farm, I mean, it just is. It's people don't think of Iowa like this. A lot of people say this looks like a French vineyard or something, I mean, it's a valley farm with a nice big creek going through the middle of it.
Yeah.
But partly it's what you said, it's people that came out as kids and forded the creek with Chug Wilson at the tractor and heard about the alligators in the creek and all of that kind of stuff. And now they're coming out with their kids. Right. Or, I mean, in some cases, it's even been 3 generations of people that have been coming out here. And that, endears people. It's a special piece of property. Even more, I mean, some of the original owners of this going back to the early part of the 1900s have stopped in their descendants and told me about how their uncle or grandfather used to talk about people coming from outside of Iowa or from Iowa City out here because there was a big bubbling spring here.
Really?
And people would come out, they would fish in these ponds, they'd have a picnic, and they would get the spring water out here.
Wow.
And then, of course, the dingleberries across the road were the moonshiners of the area, so that was another incentive to come out. But yeah, I mean, I think this is a special piece of property with quite a bit of history to it, and we feel privileged to be caretakers of it for a generation or two.
That poor tractor. Every time it would hit that creek, it would stall out.
I know. It's just like pathetic. Yeah. And we have...
Doesn't like water, I guess.
It doesn't like water, afraid of the alligator. I don't know.
Yeah, good times. Well, thanks for having me.
Well, thank you for coming, Barry.
Sure.
Stay well.
You too. Thanks.
Right. And thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Hope you come back, see us again, or listen to us again. And... you get a chance, come on out, stretch your legs, get some fresh air in your lungs, and eat something you probably should. Have a good one.